So far we have understood about the concepts of GNP, GDP, NNP, NDP. So let's try to understand what is a real GDP, then nominal GDP. This is GDP at constant prices, and this is GDP at the current prices. क्या है? Let's understand this thing. समझो, let's assume that you have produced two pizzas. This year 2022 में सोचते हैं. ओके, आपने टू पिज्जास प्रोड्यूस किया है. ईच पिज्जा का कॉस्ट 100 रुपीज, देन 100 + 100 इज इक्वल टू 200 रुपीज. ओके, नाउ समझो आपने 2023 में एक ही पिज्जा प्रोड्यूस किया है, बट इसका पिज्जा का प्राइस डबल हो चुका है. It has become 200 rupees, but you have produced only one pizza. Still, it is becoming 200 rupees at the current price, and ये भी current prices, right? So, is the same economic activity happened both the places? No. Here you have actually produced only one pizza in the 2023. But in the 2022, you have produced two pizzas. So the economic activity in 2020 is greater than the economic activity of 2023. But it is giving us false image if we consider the final value at the current prices. So we will try to take a base here. Let's assume that we are trying to calculate based on 2022 prices. So 2022 prices में अगर आप calculate करोगे तो आपका GDP actual में 50% less हो चुका है, right? So we calculate GDP based on the constant prices. This gives us actual production that is happening. So it will remove the impact of inflation. So inflation को हम हटा कर देखेंगे उस टाइम का GDP क्या है, ये करंट प्राइसेस पे मेजर करेंगे. बट जनरली फॉर द कंपैरिजन वी यूज द नॉमिनल जीडीपी. व्हेन वी से द साइज ऑफ इकोनॉमी, वी आर एक्चुअली टॉकिंग अबाउट द नॉमिनल जीडीपी. But in order to check the progress, that is actual production that is happening in the nation, we actually use the real GDP. We can also use the same nominal GDP and real GDP to arrive at the inflation, which is nothing but the GDP deflator. So I have given this hypothetical example, but India में क्या होता है? We use the 2011 as a base year. Now we are in the 2023. समझो कि आपको 2023 के फाइनेंशियल एक्टिविटी को मेजर करना है, उसके जीडीपी को मेजर करना है. ओके, यू विल कैलकुलेट बेस्ड ऑन द प्रेजेंट प्राइसेस. जैसे कि यहाँ पर प्राइमरी सेक्टर में जो भी प्राइमरी सेक्टर के एक्टिविटी है, या फिर सेकेंडरी सेक्टर के एक्टिविटी है, टेरिशरी सेक्टर के एक्टिविटी है, उस फाइनल मॉनेटरी वैल्यू को आप प्रेजेंट प्राइसेस पे आप समेशन करके फाइनली एक वैल्यू पे आ रहे हो, देन दैट इज कंसिडर एज ए नॉमिनल जीडीपी. बट अगर आप 2011 जो बेस प्राइस हमने रखा है उस प्राइसेस को आप यूज कर रहे हो, that is called the real GDP. So you are actually removing the impact of inflation. You are looking at actually what is the production. So like I've shown in the previous example, without actual production, there can be changes in the final value of the GDP. So we use the values or prices at certain base year. Okay, so we are using the base year of Indian economy as a 2011. 2011 में हमने एक बेस ईयर, एक बेस प्राइस को फिक्स किया है, जो भी प्राइसेस उस टाइम पे थे. ओके, वी यूज दैट प्राइसेस to finally calculate the GDP of the current year. जो भी आज प्रोडक्शन हुआ है, जो भी बास्केट ऑफ गुड्स हम कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं, उसके प्राइसेस 2011 में क्या थे, then we arrive at the nominal GDP. Currently क्या है, sorry, that is the real GDP. Current prices क्या है, that is the current prices basis पे जब आप कैलकुलेट कर रहे हो, which includes the inflation, then we arrive at the nominal GDP, right? So this is the concept of the nominal GDP and the real GDP. Still things are not over. Now we need to calculate how, okay, matlab jo we have discussed Central Statistical Office, the one that is calculating the GDP. How do they calculate the GDP? Okay, I have told you there are the three methods. In this, one method is the income method. We have seen factors of payments, right? जो भी factors of production आपने देखा है, okay, for the services, the inputs that is required for any firm in order to produce some goods and services, okay, that is called the factors of production. And in return, they also receive the services. We have seen this thing, okay, they are considered as interest, wages, okay, let me give you those things: land, labor, capital, organization. Okay, so land का होता है rate, rent, labor का होता है wages, and capital का होता है interest, and organization का होता है, या फिर entrepreneurship बोलते हैं, entrepreneurship, इसका होता है profit. So हम, when we add all these incomes, these are nothing but the factors of payments, इन सबको add करेंगे तो then through income method we will finally arrive at the GDP. कैसे? I have shown you in the previous video where one pizza whose final cost was 100 rupees, but this 100 rupees, the cost was incurred because of the payments that has to be done for the factors of production, the inputs the firm has received. So both of them are giving us same prices. Agar aapne rent calculate kiya, I have given the example, you can watch the previous video. Okay, so whether you are calculating the expenditure side or you are calculating the income, okay, then both of us giving the same value. Okay, so through income method we can calculate, then we can also calculate through the expenditure method. So किसका expenditure calculate करोगे आप? Like I have told you, there are four major players. Government है, private sector है, then household sector है, then external sector है, right? Whatever the expenditure incurred for the government, private, household, and the external sector, okay, then we can arrive at again the value of our GDP. This is the net of the external sector, because समझो कि आपने कोई एक लैपटॉप प्रोड्यूस किया है, ओके, कोई प्राइवेट सेक्टर ने या फिर लेट्स से प्राइवेट सेक्टर ने एक लैपटॉप को प्रोड्यूस किया है, बट इन ऑर्डर टू प्रोड्यूस दिस लैपटॉप फॉर दिस इलेक्ट्रॉनिक इंडस्ट्री टू जनरेट, ही मस्ट हैव इंपोर्टेड समथिंग्स, कुछ इंपोर्ट भी किया होगा. But when we talk about the GDP, we only want those things that are produced by us. We are not considering the imports in the GDP. We don't want them. So we actually subtract the import. We can produce this thing, laptop, and sell it in the other nation. That is called the export. We can include that thing in the GDP. So these are the four major players. हम पूछेंगे कि आपने कितना एक्सपेंडिचर किया है, ओके, गवर्नमेंट के पास जाकर, देन प्राइवेट सेक्टर के पास जाकर कितना एक्सपेंडिचर किया है इन ऑर्डर टू बाई समथिंग, परचेज समथिंग, हाउस होल्ड के पास जाके पूछेंगे और एक्सटर्नल सेक्टर के पास जाके पूछेंगे. देन वॉट एवर द वैल्यू वी अराइव एट, देन फाइनली उनका समेशन भी हमें GDP देता है. Okay, and this expenditure done by the household sector, that is called the private consumption expenditure. This is the most crucial factor for the GDP. If you have seen during the COVID times, this household expenditure, this household consumption expenditure has gone down. Agar a expenditure niche chale jata hai, they are not purchasing, that means the demand is coming down. So in such cases, the government will increase its consumption in order to increase the GDP, because we are considering this final value from the consumption side in the format of expenditure. Just I'm giving you, adding one more extra layer, one more value addition to here. Okay, so what has happened during the COVID time was, these guys, this household sector, they were not consuming anything. The expenditure from their side is lowered because they don't know what kind of expenses they might income. Okay, what is the future? So they were saving their money. Now what will happen if they are not purchasing anything? So obviously production will stop. If you are a manufacturer of any car, if you get to know that people are not buying any cars, so obviously you will reduce your supply, right? When the supply is reduced means production has been reduced. So this can cause detrimental factors to the economy. So this will affect your economy in a negative manner. So in order to maintain this thing, since this has gone down, okay, government will increase its expenditure. So you might have seen those days government's fiscal deficit has increased. Government borrow करके expenditure को बढ़ाया है. Now what is this fiscal deficit and all? We'll see in the later chapters. Okay, for now understand, we are only trying to discuss calculation of the GDP from the expenditure method. So we have used the four sectors: government sector, private sector, household sector, and the external sector. Whatever the expenditure incurred to these four sectors, then summation of these things will give us the final value of the GDP. दूसरा भी है वैल्यू एडिशन मेथड. समझो कि एक सेक्टर में प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है. ओके, सो देयर इज अ कंटिन्यूअस सप्लाई चेन. ओके, आपने एक चीज, एक 10 रुपीज की एक चीज बनाई है. ओके, एक रॉ मटेरियल को यूज किया है. समझो कि कोई एक फ्लोर को यूज किया है. Then okay, some value addition has been done. Okay, then it has become some refined flour. Okay, then it has become some more product. It has went into the bakery. कुछ processing and manufacturing हुआ है. उसके थ्रू और भी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में जाकर then it has become some packaged item. Okay, कुछ और processing बना है. So finally like this supply chain में जो आपने एक गेहूं का व्हीट फ्लोर बनाया है, इसका समझता है कि इस रॉ मटेरियल का कॉस्ट 10 रुपीज है. बट फाइनली जब ये बाहर आके कुछ प्रोसेस्ड फूड बना है, समझो कि कोई चिप्स बन गया या फिर ब्रेड बन गया या फिर पेस्ट्री बन गया, सम फाइनल प्रोडक्ट बन गया, हुज कॉस्ट इज 50 रुपीज, द फाइनल कॉस्ट इज. तो यहाँ पर वैल्यू एडेड मेथड में हम क्या कर रहे हैं? ओनली द वैल्यू एडेड एट डिफरेंट स्टेजेस वी विल ऐड देम. अब ये वैल्यू एडिशन को हम कैसे आएंगे? फाइनल वैल्यू माइनस इनिशियल वैल्यू. सो इधर फाइनल वैल्यू क्या है? 20 रुपीज. इनिशियल वैल्यू क्या है? 10 रुपीज. सो वैल्यू एडिशन यहाँ पर 10 रुपीज. यहाँ पर क्या है? 30 माइनस 20. यहाँ पर 10 रुपीज, यहाँ पर 10 रुपीज, यहाँ पर 10 रुपीज, एंड द इनिशियल वैल्यू वी विल ऐड दिस थिंग. सो 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. So this is again giving us 50 rupees. So in order to arrive at the final value of this product, we are going into this value addition happening at the different stages. So like this, अब यहाँ पर हम लोग कुछ ब्रेड फैक्ट्री में गए हैं और एंटायर सप्लाई चेन में हम पूछेंगे कि कितना वैल्यू एडिशन हो रहा है. लाइक दिस वी गो टू द डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स ऑफ द इकोनॉमी, प्राइमरी, सेकेंडरी एंड टेरिशरी सेक्टर. सबका वैल्यू एडिशन करेंगे, summation of all the sectors, then we will arrive at a GDP. So these are the three methods of calculation of the GDP. One is the income method, then second is the value addition method, third is the expenditure method. So